Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Tuesday live stream where we talk about photography and I do the best I can to answer any questions you might have about photography in general. In particular, I'm pretty affluent with Olympus cameras, but you know, I can give my shot at anything else you might own. But yeah, so I saw some of you here. Well, let's see who's here first. I see David Tellett, awesome. Always glad to see you. Dave Nelson, Jack Knack, David Crooks, good to see you. David and I, you know, I talked about David Crooks. He runs a the local photography here club here, the Virginia Beltway something. But I'll there's a link to it in my forum, and he uses meetup.com, and I'm a member of that photo club that he runs. And you know, he sets up a lot of events, you know, 30-40 events a year for us to go out to different places. And I've discovered a lot of new places since joining the club, met lots of great people, and it's really been one of the best things that happened in 2020 was joining David's photo club. But we went out yesterday. He had scheduled a photo walk in the Shenandoah Mountains, which is, you know, less than 2-hour drive for me typically. Until you get into the park, then it's hours, you know, to go from one end to the other by car even. We got there and they closed the main drive, so basically they shut the park down, so we couldn't go. And you know, really the club members showed up, and we decided maybe to go to Great Falls or something, but it wasn't kind of settled, so he just canceled everything, and then he and I went to Sky Meadows. So I got a few pictures there on my Instagram. I'll just pop up my Instagram real quick just so you can see. Yeah, this one. So these first 6 pictures, well, actually this was the only picture I got in in Shenandoah. You know, the first pull off, you know, was open, but then everything after that was shut down. So I just got one picture, and this picture actually has got the least likes out of the 6 that I posted, and this is probably my favorite one. I really like, you know, I spent, you know, 10 or 15 minutes editing this in Lightroom. But I really like how I pulled the mountains in the background in a little bit. Maybe there's too much foreground in the image, which is the only thing I can think of that compositionally this may not be appealing, you know, on Instagram. But I think this would make a really nice large print. But you never know. You never know what's going to do well on Instagram or not. Not that it really matters. It's all about, you know, the process, right? Just enjoying your time. And then, of course, this is like the most liked one, which when I took this picture, I was like, nah, you know, I didn't think anything of it. You know, it's just a couple of rocking chairs. And it's got the most likes, like, you know, more than twice as many as the landscape one. Maybe it's the processing I did. You know, I did some split toning and stuff on it, but there it is. And this door was kind of mundane, but it got more likes than my landscape. Look, 67 on the landscape and 100 on the door and window. I just don't get it. And then I like this one. This one came out pretty good with a couple of irons, and then this tree. It looks like 2 trees grew together, then split, or maybe it was one tree and lightning hit it sometime early on and split it right here. Because it almost looks like 2 trees kind of growing side by side. So that's kind of why I got a shot of this tree. I thought that part of it was interesting. But anyhow, that's what I did yesterday with David. And, you know, I have several more images. One of them I put out for you guys to edit of a gate going into the landscape, which we'll talk about in the next stream. But yeah, it was a great time. So thanks, David, for sponsoring the photo club photo walks. And if you're a member of the photo club or thinking about being a member of the photo club, just, you know, think about trying to support them in any way you can. You know, if you can send $1 or $5, whatever it is, because most of the photo clubs are 100% free, you know, and they just put their schedule out there. And but there's a lot of cost, you know, never mind the cost of running a photo club, but, you know, a lot of time invested as well. So, you know, just anything, you know, $5 or $10 a year is more than enough to cover their expenses. Even if only 10% of the membership helps, right? If you're a member of a photo club, you know, try to contribute more than just participating. I mean, participation is always great, but I think that they really earn that small fee, if any. And there's a lot of photo clubs, not a lot, but there's a handful of photo clubs that do charge a membership fee to try and recover their costs. And their memberships are obviously much smaller, but then the participation rate's much higher. So it's kind of a catch-22. Do you start charging for your photo club and then have really dedicated, you know, members? Or do you just open it free where it's like Facebook friends? You know, we got thousands of friends on Facebook, and then how many do we really keep in touch with? Just 2 or 3, right? So that's why I think, but that's why I wanted to bring it up. Is, you know, any time you can, if you can. I know not everyone can. We're not all in that same position, especially with everything that's happened, to be able to contribute financially. But any kind of support you can give, like on YouTube, it would be just subscribing or hitting the thumbs up or leaving a comment. But I do have links for if you can contribute financially to support the channel. It's always greatly appreciated as well. But ultimately, you know, our content and our efforts have to stand on their own. And we have to do this because we have a passion to do it, to help others. And I think that's why most of us started, you know, YouTube, at least in the Micro Four Thirds community, is we want to help our friends, our family, our fellow, you know, our viewers to improve their photography and share in that sort of, I guess, passion, right, with others, as human nature, are, you know, as we are human, right? That's what we crave. I don't know. I'm getting so deep into stuff I have no way to articulate, right? Because it's in the heart, right? And I'm really bad at articulating things like that, you know. So I'll stop there. But oh, thank you, Dave. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Dave with the super chat says, get the Star Trek mug filled up and get rocking for the rest of the stream. Yes. And also, let's see. I don't like rocking. I like this chair to be solid, you know, stiff, so I can sit up straight so I don't get this crick in my neck again. It's pretty much about 80% healed, but I keep going into my bad habits of leaning down and, you know, bad posture. It's a hard thing to fix your posture after you've been doing it wrong for, you know, your whole life. What the heck was I talking about now? The stream, yes. No, you didn't miss anything heavy, Elaine. All I can say is I was testing out. So if this stream starts to get choppy or breaks down, because I've been having problems the last several weeks with this kind of randomly on the live chats, right? Not the photo editing streams. Those somehow go smooth. I don't know why. But these streams where I'm, you know, a talking head basically, it's been jittery and people have been dropping out. Understandably so. Nobody wants to watch, you know, freeze frames of me like, you know, kind of in a, you know, weird face, right? And so I ordered a RJ45 jack for my laptop. It doesn't have one, so you get those USB adapters. But it hasn't come in yet. It should come in tomorrow. But what I decided to do today, and I think this should work. It seems to be working. Is I have a router that I bought a few years ago, a Netgear Nighthawk X6. It was, you know, it was like almost 300 bucks when I bought it. It was expensive, but it has like these 6 antennas sticking out, you know, and it's supposed to be super fast and have this beam forming and all this other tech, you know, to make Wi-Fi fast for gaming, right? It's a gaming network router. So I plugged the wire into the back of the Verizon router, which is a piece of crap, and plugged it into my Nighthawk router. And my speed test here, you know, I was getting around 20 megabits up and 30 or 40 megabits down, or vice versa. It was very random, which is way more than enough for streaming, but still, I have a 100 megabits up and down service. Now that I've connected this new router up and moved it closer, because I have two problems. Where the Verizon router is positioned is behind a solid rock and brick fireplace, right? So it has to transmit through this rock and brick before it gets to me. But even before, once it gets past the rock and brick, I got one wall in the living room that is all mirror. It's just a full mirror wall. So, and that's what I'm sitting behind. I'm sitting behind that mirror wall. So the signal's getting through the stone, brick, and block, and then it runs into a mirror, and I know everything's getting bounced back. So the tiny bit of signal that I'm getting from the Verizon router is coming through the door kind of at a very thin angle. It's not even line of sight. It's just whatever bounces around in the kitchen and can make it back to this room. So I moved the new router plugged in and moved it all the way up to the opening. So actually, there's virtually a line of sight now between the router and my laptop. And the only thing between is just some very thin wood doors and some plaster, right? Which it should easily get through that, on top of having 6 antennas bouncing the signal around everywhere in the house. So I'm hoping now I don't have any streaming problems, because as you know, I have my big streaming day coming up this weekend, the Micro Four Thirds online meetup for 2021. It's our second annual meetup, where I'm going to have 6 guests on, and I don't want the stream to break right in the middle, or even early. Far worse if it breaks right in the beginning and we lose everybody. So I'm doing that, and I'm experimenting with a new service called Melon. It's still in beta, but it's working great, it looks like. So I might do that. So let's see what we have here. I get mine a half an hour. I'm not sure what DeMorgan's talking about. And then Marco says, that type of network setup idea, you're double natting that way. If you want to chat on now how to optimize the setup, let me know. Best bet would be to replace the crappy Verizon router with a better one, and maybe use a longer cable to get it centrally located. Well, I am turning off the wireless transmission from the Verizon router so it doesn't interfere with the other router. So in theory, I should still be getting, you know, because they're 1,000 megabits Ethernets, right, on the back of the Verizon, and certainly on the Netgear router. So I try to minimize any radio interference between the two by turning the radio off on the Verizon router, so that the only signal in the house now is coming from the Netgear. So I don't know if that mitigates any problems you're talking about, or if you think there's a problem with the actual wiring, right, the double natting, what you're talking about. If turning off the radio on the Verizon router doesn't eliminate the challenge that you're talking about, yeah, we need to chat more. So just email me, rob@robtrek.com, you know, with some ideas. Because I really don't want to spend $200-300 on another router. I'd rather buy, you know, maybe a $25 cable that'll reach all the way in here and just hardwire from the router to here, which I may do for the big stream coming. But anyway, hello Arthur, how are you? Yes, House of Mirrors, Elaine. And yeah, the notifications is not reliable. Because I was streaming on, you know, the YouTube notifications where my stream comes up. So now I post on Facebook and yeah, just on Facebook. I was thinking about posting on Twitter, but I don't know, I'm not a big fan of Twitter. I just never used it. I'll just do a poll maybe. What's the best way you guys find live streams on YouTube? Do you get notifications? Do you see it in your email? Do you look at Twitter or Facebook or whatever other social media is out there? Because I do need to start promoting next week's stream, and I want to have the maximum exposure I can. And Dave says the script file isn't working so hot. Oh, that's for Randy. And Rick says, I now just set my smartphone diary and hope Rob doesn't change anything. Oh, yeah. It's the 2 DHCP servers that added latency. Oh, I see what you mean. You shouldn't need to spend any money if you've already got the Netgear unit. Well, the problem is the FiOS comes in on like a coax cable into the router, which well, that's a good question. I have to look at it. I think it's a coax cable going into my router, my Verizon router, then it outputs, you know, regular RJ45. But I'm not 100% on that right now. I don't know why. Yeah, I know, Elaine. You don't get notified until the stream's half over. Yeah, I joined a stream with Walter because Walter Rowe Photography, he started live streaming. And I got no notification. I knew he was streaming because it was on Facebook that he posted. And actually, while I was watching the stream, about 10 or 20 minutes into it, I can't remember, that's when I got a notification bell on his stream coming in while I was watching the stream. And I'm like, well, yeah, the stream's half over. And A-Time says you get notification on YouTube. Most times I set reminder. Oh, that's right. When you go to the stream before it starts, you can click reminder on there before it starts, and I don't know how that works exactly, but I guess we don't have to overthink it. It reminds you that the stream's coming. And yeah, the dual DHCP doesn't matter if I use a third-party DHC. I use the Google DHCPs, I think, or maybe I'm thinking of the name servers. I'm so out of touch with network stuff. I used to be all into that stuff, but now I can't remember half the stuff about optimizing stuff. And Samir, hello. Hi everybody, I have a question about which mode do you recommend me to take a photo, P or A mode? Yes, I would generally recommend you use A mode. And if you're using a native lens, set the aperture wide open that your lens will go, meaning if you're using a kit lens like the 14 to 42, usually the widest aperture is f3.5, which is the lowest number on the scale. And then the highest aperture would be maybe f16 to f22. But set it to f3.5 or f4, just set it down low and it'll automatically change as you're zooming in and out. So if you're at 42 millimeters on a zoom lens, it might be at f5.6 already, which is the maximum aperture. So I have a video on exposure. I think in part 2 I talk about aperture a little bit, if that's all kind of confusing. So check out my series on exposure for beginners. I mean, I walk it through from very basic to a little more basic, right? It's very, very basic for beginners, and that'll really help you understand aperture if you're working in A mode, which is aperture priority. And it'll help you deal with settings, and it's really a good little series. They're about 20-25 minutes each. There's 2 parts, maybe 3. I don't know if I did a 3rd one. It's an excellent little thing for, I think, beginners, and I think I do walk you through in a very methodical way that you can follow along if you're not familiar with aperture and shooting in aperture priority. Because the videos aren't specifically about aperture priority, but when you watch that video, you'll totally get it. You'll totally understand aperture priority by the end of it. And robtrek, I was watching today and nothing, then I went to YouTube's homepage and I just happened to be there, so I'm here. Wow, okay. Nice set, but N9T get remind. I don't know what N9T is. Unless you meant to say not get, because of it's a typo. I set but not get a reminder. And then DeMorgan says, I set the reminder, it will remind me anytime now. Okay. And yeah, and Dave says for Samir that for non-moving objects, use aperture priority. And I would think if you're not sure about which mode to use yet, you don't need to think about moving, not moving objects, right? I think you need to get a feel for what aperture priority means and what it's doing and how it affects exposure with your other settings. So again, watch my exposure videos and then it all makes sense, I think. But setting the aperture wide open to f3.5, you know, if it's a zoom lens, if you have the prime lens, it might be f1.8. That will allow the most amount of light into the camera, so you can use the lowest ISO and the fastest shutter speeds, which typically will give you the very best image quality that the sensor is capable of. Now, there's a lot of creative choices that you can make by using different apertures, different shutter speeds, different ISO even. But I think as a beginner, you just want to try and take a picture that looks good, right? That's decent without getting too creative, just learning how to use your cameras. So again, those exposure videos I did, I think are pretty good. And Jack says, you just finished the cheesy edit photo today. Sure, why not? And Plato says, Matty Salanto uses P mode now and then, like in his video of today in freezing temperatures. I didn't see the one today. I saw the one before, but I think the idea is your hands are, you have gloves on, so it's hard to control any of the dials and buttons while you got gloves on. So yeah, just shoot in P mode. But as you get more advanced in photography, you do want to learn how to use all the controls in the camera, and you tend to use all the controls on the camera. And it can be frustrating when you got gloves on, so just putting in P mode, shooting in RAW, and editing later, to taste. But yeah, P mode does a good job, but it doesn't I don't know where's my vocabulary today. Basically, it doesn't push you to learn how to actually do photography or learn the fundamentals of photography, of aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, right, of exposure. So I think aperture priority is the best way to get started, learning exposure, right, the exposure basics. And Rick says that most of us professionals use aperture priority unless they have a specific reason for using shutter priority. That's about 90% of the time. And I've rarely heard anybody say otherwise, if ever. I can't think of anybody that says I shoot in shutter or I shoot in manual all the time. I mean, most photographers, I think, with a modern digital camera will shoot in aperture priority. And if you think about it, some of the earliest film cameras that had any kind of automation in it, it was the aperture. They started with aperture priority and then the camera would control the shutter speed. So I think that's also an indication of why aperture priority is very popular among professionals, because it probably always has been since they started being able to implement that technology into a camera. Because I think it's the OM2N that, you know, has aperture priority, basically. They call it auto, but it's aperture priority. And Plato says, when I shoot salsa dancing outdoors, I shoot in manual, set the shutter speed and aperture. The light does not change anyway. Yeah, and like I said, as you get more experienced, you will shoot in manual time to time. I shoot in manual all the time when I'm using flash, for example. I don't have much need to do it otherwise. You know, aperture priority suits me, but once in a blue moon, I'll have to shoot in manual, or I prefer to shoot in manual for certain scenes. And I guess if I was shooting salsa dance, manual makes sense. You know, if lighting doesn't change, then you set it and forget it, right? Because sometimes when things are automated, like auto ISO in particular, you might be hitting ISOs that you don't need to, right? You can keep your ISOs lower if you control that manually. If you understand what else is going on and you understand the scene, and you can achieve the image you want at base ISO. So an extreme example would be, you know, shooting an auto ISO for most things is fine, but if you're going to be shooting astrophotography, for example, you don't want the camera to pick ISO. You know, you're going to set everything manually in astrophotography, because lighting doesn't change in astrophotography. It's dark. That's it, right? So there are reasons to shoot in manual. Astrophotography is a good extreme example. And then using flash. And Johannes says, I have the 75-300. It's a good lens. Autofocus a bit slow with sharp images and not expensive and compact. I missed a question by Matt then, I guess, about the 75-300. It's fine. You need plenty of light though. If it's cloudy out, you're trying to catch birds in flight or something. Because when I use that lens, it's going to be mainly to capture birds, right? And if it's just cloudy out, it's not enough light, and your ISOs get pumped up, you know, because you're going to be at f6.7, f7, f8, and it's hard to get a good shot when it's dark, essentially cloudy. On a bright sunny day though, yeah, with really good light, or if you can use flash somehow, it's actually a very sharp lens. Relatively speaking, it does a great job for the money. And it's compact and lightweight for its focal length, I think. And I want to use auto bottom so that when I shoot, I can have everything set up. Hit one button, grab a shot, hit it again, and go back to my settings. I'm not sure what auto bottom means. Unless you meant auto button. You want an auto button when you're shooting. Yes, you'd have to program one of the My Sets or custom settings, depending which camera you have, but it's My Set or custom setting to the auto settings. Let's see, and Randy says, oh no, big wind event right now. Hope we don't lose electricity. Yeah, California. The weather, it's like beautiful here today. I think it's like in the upper 40s or almost 50 degrees and sunny and no wind. And that's like feels like springtime, you know, in the winter. I mean, it's not spring, but it feels like it when it's like that. It's just when you look around, everything's dead, you know, not dead, but there's no leaves on the trees. And Seraphin says, I like manual for my watch photography. Absolutely. Um, yeah, product photography, you would probably want to shoot manual as well, because you know, you have to have very controlled settings, a lot of control over your settings to do product photography. Elaine says, I'm tired, going to recline with my eyes shut and listen. No major shocks, okay, sure. 30 to 40 miles an hour, yeah, that would scare me because I got really big trees all around my house that are, you know, probably 100 years old. I don't know, but huge trees, towering maybe 100 meters up, you know, and they're old and branches are falling off all the time. Sometimes big ones, you know, because they just rotted away. And I think every time there's a gust like that, you know, we don't get them often, but once in a while there'll be a storm, and I'm just praying that my neighbor's trees don't fall on my house. And Stephen Page is here. Hello. And 72 degrees in Florida. I'm so jealous. I think Marsha's here. I thought I saw her name earlier. Um, yeah, Florida's nice. You know, aside from the hurricanes, it's really nice there. The hurricanes and the alligators. You know, Ellie, yeah, she'd be gone now from an alligator probably. Randy says, going out to big rainstorm tomorrow morning, looking for flash flood from vantage point. If you don't hear from me, yeah, be careful, Randy. And Jose says it's 85 in Puerto Rico. That's nice. I'm so comfortable in the 80s. You know, the 90s, I can get by. When we get over 100 degrees, it starts to get uncomfortable, particularly if it's really humid. But mid 80s to low 90s, I can thrive. You know, when it gets in the 70s, you know, I'm happy. 60s, a little bit chilly, and then, you know, anything below that, you know, I'm like sweater, insulated pants, long underwear, the whole 9 yards. uh, I'm trying to get through the month without having to refill my oil tank. So I've turned it off the last couple days. Wow, it gets cold in my house. Let me tell you. Uh, but it was 50 degrees in my house this morning, and it got up to about 54 when I was using my little space heater. I think tomorrow I'll just order some more fuel and stop stressing about it. It's kind of expensive though, but it's still cheaper than replacing the whole system with something more efficient. Ugh, way cheaper. Jose says the last time you felt freezing weather was in the Bronx. Really? 1969. Man, that's a long time to not, I mean, it was a long time ago, but that's a long time not to have felt freezing weather. I had a very small window, 1 or 2 years, where I was like, I really like the changing seasons. I'm an idiot. No, that old me was an idiot. I don't like changing seasons. I don't like change. You know, just summer. That's all I want. And had to use ISO 2000 earlier just to take a shot outside. I assume you mean because it was dark. And Plato's asking, do I still use the GX80? No, I'm not opposed to using it. I just, my go-to camera is my EM5 Mark II or my Pen F when I go out shooting. The GX80 is just not my go-to for much. I can't think of any reason I would take that or my EM10 anymore when I have these other cameras. Yeah, I mean, it takes fine pictures and is a great camera. I just like my EM5 Mark III better. And Knowledge D50 or Knoll JD50 says, I'm an EM10 user. In movie mode, I can't focus by half pressing the shutter button regardless of my settings. Yes. Okay, so let me, the way I have this mounted, I can't, let me see if my EM5 2 does that without having to take apart my rig here. I haven't gotten an EM10 question in a while. And it needs a memory card. I just want to double check if there's a way to autofocus when you're in movie mode. It just, how to do it escapes me right now, because what I do is I assign a button to do the autofocus. So let me just double check. Let me put this in movie mode. And why is there no picture? Let's focus. Oops. Could be because I didn't mount the lens properly. Let me put a decent lens on. All right. Yeah, so it's not focusing, but if I go into P mode or A mode, yeah, no problem, right? So in movie mode, it's focusing, but you're saying, okay, let me start recording. Find something that's out of focus. I can't, the screen is blurry to me, so I can't tell if things are in focus either way. I will solve this for you. Hold on. So 1080p, hit record, and when you're in continuous autofocus like I am now, it does, yeah, the half pressing the focus does not do anything. The camera will automatically try to do focus for you. But let me stop recording. Let me go into the menu. I did a video on this. But that's the last time I had to think about it. Let me go into button function. I'm going to change function. Let's change function. Yeah, we'll change function 1, AEL, AFL. And then go into autofocus, AEL, AFL. So I'm recording. That's out of focus now. If I push this, nothing. Okay, hold on. Bear with me. I put this back into A. And you're giving more info here. It says in CAF, touch to focus work, but half press button doesn't work. Right, I got that. I know, but it was about the M10 Mark I, and I think for that one, the half press focus worked. Okay. 1 second. Okay, that's that. And then in the movie menu, there's nothing, I don't think, right? Yeah, there's nothing there. All right, let me try one more time. So I'm in single point autofocus. Let me focus on the keyboard, something close, hit record. Dang it, that's not doing anything. And then focus there, hit record. I did solve this problem, I believe, but I just can't remember now how I did it. I'm a little bit rusty here on these Mark IIs. I have that set up right. Autofocus, manual focus, AF mode, fine. All right. Let me find the video where I talked about this exact issue. I just can't remember what I did. So if I look for video, video, episode number 170. Copy. All right, here's a link to the video. And it's episode 170 on my channel. I talk about autofocus in video, and those settings will apply to the M1 Mark II. I think I was using the Pen F in that video, but it will apply to the M1 Mark II or EM10 Mark II. And I really go into detail, and I believe I solved the issue you're talking about. If not, leave a comment on that video after you watch it and say, this did not answer my question. And I'll look into it one more time for you in more detail. Because right now it's just not coming to me what I did in that video. But I do have a video about how to use the autofocus in video and all of the settings, and I think I did cover that issue. Yeah, the touch to focus works. I get that. But I got this note about turning something off for autofocus. There's something you have to turn off in autofocus for that to work. I believe that's what it was. There's something in the menu that's on. If you turn it off, then I think the half press shutter button will work. I just can't remember what it is now. I'm sorry. I just don't remember. And DeMorgan says, I used to back button focus when I was in movie mode. Yeah, there's a way to do it. I don't know why it escapes me now. I'm so rusty. I hit record. It's not that. There is something I have to turn off. Button. Oh, yeah, I got it. I got it. Let me turn this off. Turning off, that rung a bell. Let me try again. So if I do that. Oh, I gotta put my glasses. I think this is it. Hold on. Yeah, this is it. All right. So I'll show you on the M10 Mark II. Let me see if it's half press. The half press doesn't work, but you can assign back button focus. Let me try it in single point or SAF. So if I hit record, yeah, it works. All right, this is it. Let me switch over. I'm gonna have to do this upside down, but hit the menu and go into, let me switch over to, not that button. Yeah. So go in here, go into button dial, button function, and function 1, normally that's assigned to something, but you need to turn function 1 off. So whatever it's assigned to now, go in here and turn it off like that, and click OK. And then, oh, I don't have a memory card in here, but I could show you that it works now. So yeah, that's what you need to do. Turn that button off, and then you can use the function 1 button to autofocus. You can't use the shutter button, I don't think, but you can use one of the function buttons to autofocus rather than a touch screen. So again, watch that video. It'll explain that in more detail. But that's what it is. You have to turn the function button off that you want to use for focusing. So I turned off FN1, but now when I'm in video mode, if I push FN1, it actually tries to lock focus, whether you're in single point or not. Single shot autofocus? I'm sorry, my nomenclature is wrong. Or so SAF or CAF, it'll work. Phew. Man, that's almost a whole video in itself, right? Almost 10 minutes on one little thing. So I hope that helps. If you have the camera with you, try it and let me know right here in the chat. You know, let me know. But yeah, it definitely works. Oh, I try, Noel JD50. I try to help. I really do. As long as my memory doesn't fail me, I can usually help you. But yes, I would say, like, shoot, gotta work in 7 minutes. Okay, well, thanks for coming in when you can, coming in before the stream. I'm glad I was able to help you with that, but I'm pretty sure that'll work by turning off the function button that you want to use for autofocus. I don't know if that works on the M1s. I think it's different on those, but on the Mark IIs, the M5 and the M10s, definitely. Oh, Danny Drake says, confirmed on my EM10 Mark II. All right, good. So Danny's confirmed what I just showed you to do on the menu. Because 99 times out of 100, if it works on my EM5 Mark II, it'll work on the EM10 Mark II. These two cameras are virtually identical, other than the build quality, right? This is weather sealed and, you know, focus stacking, a couple other minor features. But there's nothing you can't do on an EM10 Mark II that you can do with an EM5 Mark II, really, photographically speaking. This is really, the EM5 Mark II, I mean, the whole Mark II series from Olympus, that's why I made a whole video on it. I really think the Mark II series were, you know, the pinnacle, or I don't know what's the word, was really the very best cameras Olympus ever made. You know, the Mark III is really nice, you know, the EM5s and the EM1 Mark IIIs. But I still stand by my statement. The EM1 Mark II, the EM5 Mark II, the EM10 Mark II, the best cameras Olympus ever made. And Jagnex says, speaking of button assignments, I would really like to use my delete button as a function button on my EM10 Mark II, as it doesn't do anything while shooting anyway. There's no any way to do this is the question. No. The delete button, the trash button, is not assignable in any shape or form. And Plato says, oh, that's for John. And Noel J says, yep, back button focus works wonders. Thank you so much. Gotta earn a dime. All right. Go out, go to work, but I'm glad that worked for you, Noel. I had to be very conscious of my time today because I limited the stream today to an hour and a half. So that means I really need to finish hour and 15 minutes. Almost been an hour already. I can't believe it. I feel like I just started. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Jack Knack. Why not be able to assign every button to anything else, right? But I understand why they don't do it in some cases, because that would cause a conflict in the operation of the camera. Um, I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but there's certain functions of the camera that if you reassign a button to something else, it's not going to give you access to this other function, or something will be grayed out, or something will not. Something could be potentially confusing. Uh, when my brain is a little bit clearer, it makes sense to me. I just can't articulate it right now, but there are reasons. So all I can assume is they didn't want the trash button to be anything except what it is. I think, where is it? Yeah, this trash button. But it should be assignable, right? Why not? And yeah, I agree with you. I wish Olympus let us assign that button. And Dave says, just to be sure, the Gojus keep you flowing on your edits. Yes. Yeah, caffeine somehow also helps with your brain function while it's active, and then it takes it away when you get that caffeine crash and you turn into a vegetable. At least I do. 50 watchers, really? I haven't even checked my stream. Oh yeah, 59, 60, awesome. And haven't received it, but works fine for me with both primes. Okay, you guys are talking about, you got the grip. Uh, I'm thinking, I hate these pauses in the streams, right? When I stop talking, it feels, even if it's just for a couple of seconds, right? It feels like an eternity when the stream goes quiet. So, not just for caffeine's sake, but also for the sake of, what the heck was I talking about? Uh, but also to keep my lips wet, because what I hate is when you're watching a speaker and they get cotton mouth and a little ball of like spit is on their lip or something. It drives me nuts when I see that. It's almost as bad as something being stuck in your tooth, which doesn't bother me as much as like a little drop of spit, like foam right here. You start foaming at the mouth while you're talking. And can I use the lens function button to turn on then off the magnification button? I don't know. Let me try it. Let's see. On my EM5 Mark II, I know you can program the lens function button, but let's see. Button function. PNLN function. Peaking multifunction exposure. No, I don't see magnify in the list. Yeah. You cannot. Magnify is not on the list, unfortunately. It's limited to just a few things here. I can probably show you. Because a lot of people, you don't have lenses yet that have a function button. My 12 to 40 is functioning again. I don't know how clear it is, but if I go into the menu, I got to do this upside down again. Whoops. Oh, come on, menu. button function, LN function. So there's off, level display, peaking, multifunction, bracketing, HDR. Oh, you know, on the EM10, it does let me assign it to magnify. So let's do that. That's weird. So now if I push the lens, oh yeah, it does magnify. I'll be dang. Let me focus on something. Something with some contrast. And then if I push the lens function button, yeah, works great. That's weird though. Why wasn't it on my EM5? Oh, because I was in movie mode. So, yeah, when you're in movie mode, let me put this in aperture priority and see if the lens functions change. So if I go in the menu button, yeah, now it's there. All right. So my bad. I was in movie mode on the EM5. That's why it didn't show up. But if you put it, you know, if you're in a normal photo mode, more functions for photos will show up. And Neil says, I love the background. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's just some free spaceship I got. And Woltech says, love me some GNR. What is that? I know R&R, rest and relaxation. And Robert Welsh says, turning off the FN1 worked on my EM10 Mark II. Awesome. So yeah, lots of people are having success with that particular feature. That's funny. I should just do a separate video just for that, because a lot of times people see a 15-20 minute video, they don't want to watch it just to look for one little thing, right? That may not even be in the video. Does that, you guys ever do that? Like, you'll see these long ass videos and you start watching them because you're looking, you know everything in the video except this one little thing, right? And you watch the whole thing and then they don't talk about it. It's like, ah. So then you got to find another one. I've been on binges like that where I'm like watching video after video trying to find somebody that says something about the one thing I'm trying to figure out, right? And that's why I started the Olympus Fine Print series, where I talk about one particular thing, but I go into a lot of detail about that one thing. And they're still a little bit long, but it's usually you learn a lot of things that you probably didn't know. So it's one of those videos that should be full of stuff you didn't realize, right? Like my press and hold video is coming soon, which I'm working on. Okay, that way you can focus in correctly. Yeah, you and me both. Trust me. Guns N' Roses. Yeah, that's my ringtone. I need to change it, but it's one of the few songs that start out loud, right? So I know it's ringing right away. I don't like those songs. A lot of these songs, they have these like really quiet beginnings and then they crescendo into the music. But by the time I hear the ringtone on those songs, you know, the person's hung up already. And David says, yes, I agree that I will filter watching a video because I did not watch anything over 20 minutes. Yeah. Can you fit a hood on the 14 to 42 pancake lens? Yes. Um, it's on my lens actually. It's on my bag. I'll show you. I talked about this exact this exact lens hood before. It's a 37 millimeter filter ring. So you buy one of those. Wow, that was weird. You buy one of these filter ring videos. So let me just pull it up. The 37 millimeter rubber lens hood. This is the one. I don't know why it's $39. I paid like $10 or $15 for mine, but this one fits perfectly on the pancake lens. No problem whatsoever. This is the hood that I used on it when I had it. And I use it on a different lens now, but it fits perfectly. It's a great. I just wish it wasn't $37. I think if you shop around, you'll find this. Um, let's see. Olympus 14 to 42. See what comes up this way. No, it doesn't come up this way too well. Let's try Google. Oops, sorry. Latest Randy Rainbow song. What the heck was that? Here's one. B&H Photo, 1795. Yeah, this one looks good. From B&H. That's still kind of expensive, but yeah. That's what you want. And let's see. R&R's Rest and Recuperation. Yes. And Dave Crook says, Olympus UK had a Tech Tuesday live video this morning, and it started out 4 minutes of no sound, and then chat hung up on Facebook. Of course. And see Neil Yasaka's question above. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me look. Neil, oh, does the OMD EM1 have eye detect? Yes. The Mark 1 I don't think does. The Mark 2 does. But it only really works when the person's face is filling the frame about 20% or 30%. Meaning, like, if I like the way this live stream is framed, the eye detect will work on the M1 Mark II. On the M1 Mark III, the eye detect is way better. So yeah, but the M1 Mark I, I don't know. I don't have that camera, but I guarantee it's not going to be very good compared to even the M1 Mark II. And the M1 Mark III is just excellent on the eye detect. But thank you. Yeah, if I miss a question, you know, because you know how it is. You're watching the chat section to see how far along I get. If I miss your question, it's not on purpose. You know, I'm really trying to answer all the questions. Just sometimes it's easy to miss them. So just ask me again. But if you type in, let me show you. You see how people put @robtrek? If you have a question, I'll see it a lot easier if you put this big @robtrek, because I'll get this big orange highlight on my name, and that helps me to know that, you know, it draws my eye, so I read the comment. But okay, it doesn't show like here on this side, but it does show on my screen that I actually look at when I'm reading through the comments. So thank you, John, for pointing that out. And no Pink Floyd then. Yeah, definitely no Pink Floyd. But a lot of, I like a lot of dance songs. And the problem with the dance songs is they're all mixed for DJs where you have this like long, quiet intro a lot of times. Or they're very simple, just beats, right? And the beats don't play very well on a little cell phone speaker, right? The bass. So that's the problem with a lot of songs. If they start out very bassy with lots of bass, I'm not going to use that. And if it's DJ type mixes, they have these long intros that are kind of quiet and build up. So usually hard rock, heavy metal, yeah, they start jamming, with a guitar or something. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. I don't have a single Pink Floyd song on my playlist for my classic rock playlist. A rubber lens hood won't break if a camera falls onto it. Yeah, I haven't dropped cameras lately. I almost did the other day. David Crooks saw me. I picked up my camera and the lens strap came off. Okay, I just don't like those thick lens straps. You know, I got this. I got these ones that I made myself out of paracord. Problem I have is the hooks that I'm using. I was trying to use a quick release hook. Right? These aren't real hooks. It's some kind of keychain thing. But sometimes they work themselves loose and the camera falls. I got a picture of me. I have to show you that if you guys haven't seen this. I got a picture of me dropping my camera. And as it was falling, somehow when it hit the ground, it took a picture. It's hilarious. It's not too old. Here it is. Yeah, the strap worked itself loose and dropped, and I'm trying to catch it while it's falling down. And when it hit the ground, it took a picture of me. Oh my God. You should read all the comments in there too. They're really funny. This got how many comments? It got a lot of comments. It was funny. 41 comments. Anyhow. And Jeff Painter says the M1 does have face and eye detect. Okay, so even if it has it though, the frame has to be pretty full of the person's face, kind of like this stream is, to work, because it's definitely not going to be better than the M1 Mark II. And this is about where you need to be with the M1 Mark II for it to work. Yeah, CNC Music Factory, right? What they do, is it Everybody Dance now? I think that's their jam. And then there's Pump Up the Jam, and then there's Jam on It, and you know, all those. I love all those songs. I use Bleeding Sheep for my ringtone. Loud, wow. And Lauren's not here. Paracord wrist straps are great, yes. And Rick says, are you starting the picture editing at 1/2 past? Yes, so I do need to get ready. And the M1 is called Face and Eye Priority. Okay, thank you. Yeah, sorry, that's just not a camera I have. Just use a lighter to meld the paracord to itself and it will never fall again. Well, yeah, but yeah, I do. Actually, I do use a lighter on the parts where I cut it and I flatten it. I know you can't see it here on the stream, but my problem is these little quick release straps, clips that I use. So I can take the strap on and off easily. This clip is failing me, so I need to find a better way to do it. I was using key rings to do it, and those were 100%. They didn't come off at all. But they were a pain to take on and off. They weren't quick release. Because I don't have good fingernails, right? They're very thin and small. So I struggle with key rings. So that's why I went with this. And the reason I take the straps on and off all the time, seriously, is because it's just, when I put the camera on a tripod, you know, the straps get in the way sometimes when I'm panning or doing things. So I like to have the option to take the strap off quickly whenever I whip out the tripod. But, you know, 90% of the time I'm just hanging it over my shoulder. So maybe I should go back to using regular key rings. Lanyard clips. Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that. Jam on it from Nucleus, yes. And Baby Has Back is a good ringtone. Yeah. I have to pick something relatively unoffensive though, you know? I don't want people looking at me funny because of my ringtone. Yeah, TNT. I have that album. Well, let me rephrase that. I have the album cover that the album comes in. I don't know where the record went. Just, I have so many records that are missing for one reason or another. Just over time and moving 100 times, I just lost them. I bet the record's in another sleeve, you know? Use 2 carabiners instead of a quick disconnect. They'd have to be very small carabiners. Very small. I haven't seen small ones. Old phone ringtone. And David Crook says, I did stop at the railroad crossing at Delaplane coming home from Sky Meadows. Saw the train come. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, David Crooks, like I was saying earlier in the stream, we went on a photo walk and he had out before I did. And I said, you know, on the way out, there's some train tracks and there's some really neat pictures. Yeah, post those on Instagram. I'd love to see those, what you got. And anything else, you know, that you've taken. I got, well, maybe you have already, to be fair. I haven't really checked Instagram since I posted my pictures last night. Yeah, you haven't posted anything yet, so try eBay for miniature carabiners. Okay, I'll look. Yeah, carabiners though, I use those a lot. You know, for other things. Well, not a lot, but I use them time to time for stuff. But I've never seen any smaller than like the 1-inch size. I mean, this clip that I'm using is kind of like a mini carabiner. Since I'll just show you, since I have the camera up. I mean, this is a. Let's see. This is the clip I'm using. It's like a double-sided carabiner. And I just push this clip in to release it like that. But somehow this works its way loose. I don't know how it comes off. It shouldn't, but it does. Oh, you're behind on your editing. Yeah. I'm really fast with my editing now. Ever since I started doing these live stream editing sessions. I mean, if I spend more than 10 minutes on an edit, that's rare. Usually my edits are like this now. If I do any. I always try to post straight out of camera. But, you know, the images we shot yesterday on the photo walk, I was not thinking about shooting straight out of camera. I just said I'm going to shoot raw today and then edit and crop, you know, later. Because, you know, with landscapes and the kind of scenes we were shooting, my focus was on the framing, that I caught enough of the frame that if I need to crop in later, I will. And not about the actual processing. I just shot raw and I said, I'll just edit these real quick later. So I pulled out a few and edit them. And Joby wrist strap was popular. Then they quit production of the thin wrist strap and Amazon had something like it. Most likely not the same, but I don't know. Yeah. And Danny Drake says they make a locking version of that clip. Okay, I'll have to look. If it's easy to unlock, that would be great. Dave's posting flame free today in interest of cleaner air. An OP Tech foam wrist strap is okay, but you sweat a bit on a hot day. Yeah, I'm not a big wrist strap fan because, you know, I vlog and I take pictures at the same time. So if I'm taking pictures this way, then I have to turn the camera around to vlog. I switch hands you know, pretty often, so it's kind of a pain. Wrist straps, taking my hand in and out of the wrist strap. You know, I've seen the ones where that, you know, they go around your wrist instead of around your hand. You know, there's all kinds of ways to do it. I have to look. I don't know. I don't like things having tethered to my wrist. Weird. Yeah, the Peak Design connections are, um, yeah, they'd have to go on sale like 80% off before I buy their stuff because they're kind of expensive. I have one Peak Design product, which is actually a hand strap. It's not a wrist strap. It goes around your hand. And I used that for a little while, and then I took it off and never used it again. So it's a nice design. I just, like I said, I don't care for hand straps and wrist straps for some reason. Danny Drake says it's like a quarter turn thing in the middle. It locks the clips from the opening. Okay, I'll look into it. Yeah, but you haven't dropped a camera using a wrist strap. I mean, to be fair, neither have I. Whenever I use a wrist strap, it was always on, but that was before I started vlogging. As soon as I started doing the vlogs and things, you know, wrist straps, hand straps, those things just, you know, just collect dust now. So I had to come up with another way. And Dave swears by the Peak Design straps also. Yeah. I mean, I like the little tab you push and release. And it has a nice, it looks like a, you know, they say it's a very strong nylon cord, but it's what I like, it's very thin and doesn't add any weight to the camera, though it looks like your camera's wearing earrings when you don't have a strap on. It's just kind of goofy looking without a strap on, but you know, I guess who cares about that? It doesn't show up in the pictures. Yeah, wrist straps, cloths. I don't know what you're trying to say, but okay. I'm going to end it here because I have to get ready for my next stream. So thanks everybody for joining me today. Hopefully I was able to help some of you with some of the questions, and it's always a lot of fun talking to everybody, see what's new. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and joining me, and I'll be back on Thursday, but mark your calendars for this coming Sunday for the Micro Four Thirds online conference, right, with all of the major Micro Four Thirds photographers that you see online. So thanks again. We'll see you guys again on Thursday. And some of you in the stream, I'm doing a photo editing stream after this, so we'll see some of you there.